Haley, thanks for coming to this planning so we can go through this newcomer planning protocol for the next unit because we have so many newcomers. So let's dive right in and go through step one, which is talking about their strengths.
Yeah, so were you able to take a look at the student profiles that I sent you
Yes.
last week?
Yes, I did.
Awesome. Let's start with Margaret then.
Okay. All right. So a couple of things I noticed about Margaret. Her listening, speaking, and writing were pretty strong according to her WAPT scores. So her listening was a 5.6, which is pretty, students usually once they know a little bit of English, they can listen pretty well. But the positive, happy surprise I had was her speaking was a 2.4, which really isn't that bad for a newcomer. And then writing was a 2.8. So those were some positive things I noticed about her. And also I noticed she's been hopping around the world quite a bit. So she has a little bit of background there that maybe we can use.
Yeah, so we definitely know that Margaret has some formal education in Ghana. So that would explain why her writing and her listening is high.
Yes.
Some things that I do want to point out is her speaking. That seems inaccurate to me because it's a 2.4, and I feel like she can definitely be higher because she's had the formal education. So we want to make sure that when we're talking about her scaffolds that we can really push that for her. And then also for her reading, that's also a little surprising to me because she's had some formal education and it being a 1.2. Maybe there's some reasons why her reading is a little bit lower than the others, so we can talk about that too.
Okay, great. All right, let's talk about the next step, which is unpacking the 4 T's. So let's start with the topic.
All right, so as I was looking at the upcoming unit that we're going to be working on is called Women's Roles in the American Revolution, which is awesome because we just talked about the children's roles in the previous unit. So at the end of this unit, it would be great to be able to compare.
That's what they'll be doing. Yeah, they're going to be comparing. That's awesome. So I think they'll enjoy that. But then now next step, the target, which is the standards and the essential question. The target is RI 5.1. That's the focus standard. And that is quote accurately from a text when explaining what the text says explicitly and when drawing inferences from the text. So the inferencing piece will come into play. And then the essential question is, how did the Revolutionary War impact women?
Right. And the text that they're going to be using throughout the unit is called The American Revolution, Women's Roles.
Yes, so we'll be working a lot with that with the actual task, which is next. So the main task that repeats throughout the lesson with these texts is a notice and wonder chart. So on the notice side, they will be putting their evidence. On the wonder side, they're going to put a question that they got from that piece of evidence. So they'll go hand in hand.
Yeah, that's awesome that they're going to be using that over and over again. And I think that this is where Margaret's going to be able to flourish because she does enjoy writing so much. Okay. And this is maybe where she can have some of her creativity come into play too.
Right. Okay.
All right. So let's move on to step 3, which is talking about the appropriate scaffolds and supports.
Right.
I know that you've been using the Google Slides that the L department has been creating for each of the units. And so please continue to use those as I will be as well.
Yeah, they're so supportive with the pictures and the sentence starters. They're actually working really well for my whole class. So it's been great. Okay, so other than those slides, because she needs support in reading, I was thinking maybe we could do a 2-read protocol. So like the first read, she could just be listening to one of us reading it or maybe a recording, and she can follow along. And then the second read, she can read it on her own with some heavy scaffolds if needed. Heavy scaffolds, like we can engineer the text and add some pictures or definitions.
Yeah, you know what? I can totally see where a CCD would come into play right here.
That would be great.
Because I know there's a lot of words, especially in this unit, that have a lot of abstract meaning to it. It's a little bit harder for students to grasp. So CCD would definitely be beneficial here.
And that could benefit my whole class. So I'd say let's try to do it with all of them. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
And then we can, with her writing piece, we can first, for the notice and wonder chart, we can see how she does first, since she enjoys writing. we can let her try it without any scaffolds. We don't want to over scaffold her, but if she ends up needing them, we can just have them ready just in case.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
And to piggyback on that speaking piece, we want to make sure that she gets plenty of opportunity to discuss all of her, of writing or reading, be able to, recount that and explain.
That would be great.
So, something that I noticed as I was working through this unit, I noticed that in this unit, they use the word American Revolution and Revolutionary War like interchangeably.
Yeah.
And that would be very confusing for not just, all students, but especially our newcomer elves.
Yes, definitely. So maybe we can do something like a quick little graph or mini lesson where explaining it's like a cause and an effect. So the cause of the Revolutionary War was the American Revolution, where there was turmoil and disagreement and frustration, and then it led to the war itself.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, that's we can go ahead and move on to our next student if you like.
Sounds good.